On the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Ramanathan and other organizers of this FDP for giving me this opportunity. The topic research writing, project proposal writing, scientific communication and bioethics. I think this is the most important topic currently because the entire nation is talking about innovation with Make in India policy. I think we are all moving towards making our own innovation products and developments. And a lot of opportunities for the young researchers to move in this direction. And I'm happy to note that most of the student participants and the faculties are motivated towards doing something, mainly the quality research. So in this contest, they have given me the topic on principal investigator. When they said about principal investigator, what are the requirements and expertise needed for the principal investigator to initiate the research? So I just share my presentations and then I'll just talk about what is the way I have organized this lecture. Can I share my presentation? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So when the organizer asked me to talk about the requirement and expertise, I took a liberty to add another topic on role and responsibilities. Unless the principal investigators know about the role and responsibilities, it's very difficult for them to take up the particular role and how to imbibe various requirements and expertise necessary to become a principal investigator. So in this context, I have added a concept on role and responsibilities, requirements, and the expertise needed to become a principal investigator to initiate a research in this contest. So I have formulated my lecture in the following aspects. The first part of the lecture, I want to emphasize on role and responsibilities of the principal investigators. Mainly the principal investigator or a co-principal investigator in a research project and the requirements to becoming a PI. So this is the second part of the lecture, I think the most important one for the participant and also the expertise needed to become a principal investigator is another important topic. So I want to end the lecture with my experience being in an academic career, how we can move forward with the research. So the last part is also, I think, will be of some use to the participants based on our experience. So this is just a basic definition of a principal investigator, which you can take it from any bookish material. So any principal investigator is the primary individual responsible for the preparation, conduct, and administration of the research grant. So when we get a research grant from any organization, so be it from the funding agency or from sponsors or from any industry, the principal investigator has to develop this project, implement the project, and be responsible for conduct of the whole project in compliance with the applicable laws and regulations and institutional policy governing the conduct of the sponsored research. So this part is the most important one. So the PI is responsible for the entire process of the project, starting from the formulation till the completion of the project. Similarly, the co-principal investigator has a similar role like a principal investigator. So they are also responsible for the conduct of the part of the research project, and they are obliged to ensure the project is conducted in compliance with the applicable laws and regulations and institutional policy, as I said already. So the PI and co-PI have similar role in executing the project, but the PI is solely responsible for all the concepts regarding the project. Okay, so this is just an outline I have taken from the DBT and DST. What are the responsibilities of PI? So being a major funding agency, Indian funding agency, DST and DBT. So some of the guidelines or responsibilities of the principal investigators I have taken from their guidelines. So the major the responsibility of the principal investigator is to prepare the technical. First, you have to make a proposal and may collaborate with others in prepare when you are preparing the proposal. For example, you may need a expertise which will require another co-PA. So you can collaborate with various expert people and make a technical report. That is, formulating the proposal is the first part, and I know that there are few sessions already conducted in this FDP on how to make a proposal. Proposal writing is one part. And when you are writing the proposal, ensure that the research design is properly planned and it is consistent with the standard protocols. So the design of the research is very important point when you make a proposal, where you have to spend most of the time in making a proper research design. And the research design which you are proposing should be appropriate to the proposed question you want to address as a part of the research. So making the first, you have to address a particular concept, and for that you have to make a you have to address a particular question, make a proper research design, and make a proper proposal with all these concepts put together. And the most important part of the proposal is preparation of the budget and its justification. So the PA is solely responsible for all the financial related issues related to the project, starting from the preparation and till the utilization. And we also have to justify the budget. We cannot say as we wish, like I want this much. So we have to make a proper justification in proposing the budget. And the most important concept or the responsibility of the PA should be, they should be well aware of the regulatory requirements. So most of the research may involve human subjects, so they should know about the human ethical guidelines. Similarly, live animals, animal ethical guidelines. Similarly, the biotechnology related products, when they use it, like a recombinant DNA, infectious materials, biological toxins, they have to be aware of the institutional biosafety committee. So they have to submit their proposal to IBSC committee and get an approval. And to some extent, if you are dealing with the infectious agents, etc., we also have to get the approval from RCGM, a part of DBT, to give an approval in handling the infectious organisms. So all these regulatory guidelines the PA should be aware of. And when we deal with the human body blood or any other body fluids and a hazardous material, we should know the biosafety issues and environmental health and safety issues. So all these regulatory requirements the PA should aware, and they have to take a necessary approval from the regulatory agency before they start the project. So all these things has to be well emphasized in the proposal. And if necessary, if the like a multi-institutional project or the project it involve a co-PA from the another institution, so memorandum of understanding has to be executed properly with the proper guidelines. So even for spending a grant separately from the two different institutions, there should be an MOU signed from both the institution. Especially when multi-institutions are involved, MOU is a very important part, should be taken care of by the principal investigator. And this is only after obtaining the fund from the funding agency. Once you have made all these basic, once you write, apply, and make an MOU, and once you get a grant, you have to do the research. So conduct of the research is the most preliminary important component of the principal investigator, where the investigator should be responsible for the quality of the research, time bound research. For example, when we commit for 3 years, we have to meet up, all our objectives should be addressed within the 3 years period. and the technical performance of the research is entirely a sole responsibility of the PI. So budget management, reporting and review, these are all the very important responsibilities should be properly taken up by only the principal investigator. Okay. Similarly, the outcome of the research project like invention and intellectual property rights, all these things has to be properly be taken into consideration, wherein university intellectual property policy and conflict of interest policy all has to be addressed by the principal investigator. So the principal investigator has to be aware of the institutional IPR policy and other related issues. And if it is necessary, maybe implementing a small business plan has to be added along with the proposal, because nowadays we have rather than a basic research, applied research which will develop a product can be taken into a business plan for entrepreneurship. Everything has to be addressed in the proposal. Then once you implement the project, once you get an outcome, it has to be continued with the next level, or it has to be closed down suitably. So all these are the basic responsibility of any principal investigator which are involved in the research. So this is just a basic guideline everybody aware of. And by next topic will be, see, most of the participants are involved in the clinical research or clinical studies. So there are few more important points to be emphasized when you talk about a clinical research. So the responsibility of the PA is for the clinical studies. I want to emphasize specifically. Again, the PA, when I talk about a principal investigator doing a research in different sectors and the different expertise, totally the responsibilities are different. For example, when you work with the project which involve biomedical device development, the principal investigator could be a technology person, but he also has to have a co-PA, which is must be a physician who can support the project effectively. And if it is a industry related project, the industry is one co-partner in implementing the process. So the responsibility of industry partner and a co-PI and a PI are all being complemented for the successful running of the project. So the responsibility of PA, depending upon the nature of the project, can change. So I have taken example of clinical studies. What are the specific responsibilities or role of the principal investigator in a clinical study? A brief outline I have given. As I said, this is not the only guidelines or outlines to be followed. There, whenever we apply for funding, these are at least the basic responsibilities the PA should ready to undertake before they start applying for the project. So they should know the responsibility to take up all these roles and commitment. Only then they should be ready to apply for the project. So it is a brief overview of responsibility of a PI in a clinical sector or a clinical research. So as I said, it is a PA commitment. So once you are ready to implement the project, some of the basic commitments for the investigators are listed in this next few slides. The PA should be properly qualified by education, training and experience to assume the responsibility for the conduct of the study. So the first foremost requirement. So why I am talking about a commitment and a responsibility. Your requirement also should meet up these commitments. So when I talk about the PA should be qualified, they should have a basic degree which has to meet up by the regulatory guidelines, and training, expertise, all has to be qualified. The PA's education, training, everything should be sufficiently qualified to assume responsibility for conduct of the study. And the PA also should be familiar with the investigational product, we call it as IP, and its appropriate use. Okay, and similarly, when I said about the experience and the qualification, when we apply for project funding, all this experience and the qualification has to be elaborately specified in our curriculum vitae, so that the funding agency will know about your expertise and qualification to handle the study or the research. So that is the most important part of making a quality curriculum vitae when you are submitting a proposal with the funding agency is very, very important. And you also have to supply all the other relevant documents which is necessary for the conduct of the research. The PA also should be thoroughly familiar with the usage of the particular investigational product in case of clinical research, and the PA should comply with the good clinical practice and he should apply all the regulatory guidelines related to the study, and he should be ready to prepare an audit at any time and monitoring by the various authorization agency like regulatory authorities or by sponsor or by even a grant suppliers. And they should maintain a delegation of responsibility log. What I mean by here is they should able to permit the authorities, mainly like regulatory authorities or the sponsors, to make the audit at any time. So they have to keep the all the records regarding the study at any time ready for the auditing. And the most important part of the commitment is the PA should make sure the adequacy of various resources. For example, they should make sure that they can able to recruit the sufficient number of the subjects or the resource like a research scholars or a PhD scholars, etc., in a timely basis and sufficient time to complete the study. The most important point is how to manage the timeline to keep up the objectives is very important. So the PA should make sure that the sufficient time is spent, quality time is spent to complete the study. And for faculty research staff recruitment, office staff recruitment, everything to complete the study, it is a responsibility of the PA. And they also recruit the staff who are well informed about the protocol, the investigational product, and they should also make them realize the responsibilities very effectively. So these are all the basic commitments of the PA regarding the management of the resources. And regarding the medical care of the trial participants. So when I talk about a clinical research, invariably it involves the human subjects. They ensure that all trial-related medical decisions are made by the investigator, who is also could be a researcher or also a qualified physician. When I said about, so if you are a pharmacist, you can also have one qualified physician as a researcher who has to be a part of research project, so that adequate medical care could be provided to the participants when they meet up some adverse reaction during the process of clinical research. And if there is any such adverse reaction occurs, the participant has to be, the investigator has to notify the participant physician regarding the issue, and it has to be sorted out effectively. Though it is not mandatory for the participants to continue the study at any point of time, they can withdraw. But when they withdraw from the study, it is a very important for the principal investigator to know why the participant withdraw from the study. So these are the subject-related issues which the PA should take care effectively, and this is one of the important commitment of the PA. The most important concept regarding the clinical research is communication with the institutional regulatory boards and institutional ethical committee, etc. So the PA has to get approval before the study begins from the regulatory authorities, and if there is any modification in the protocol, they have to update all this modification effectively as a investigators through the investigators brochure. So the IRB and IEC should be aware of all the protocols to be followed as a part of the project, and it is the responsibility of the PA to provide all the document subjects to the review throughout the entire period of the study. and the PA has to compliance with the protocol. The VA has to conduct all the clinical trials in compliance with the protocol specified as specified in the proposal, and deviations are generally not entertained, but if they can deviate only if it is necessary with the agreement from the sponsor and also prior approval from the IRB and ITC. So all the deviation has to be properly documented and to be explained for the to be explained to the regulatory authorities. As I said, they can deviate from the protocol only when there is a necessity for the process, like if there is any unforeseen event seen in the subjects, like any hazardous incidents occurring to the subjects, etc. So even if they deviate, they have to the deviation has to be submitted to IRB, the sponsor, and the regulatory authorities through the proper mode. So these are all the basic compliance to be followed by the principal investigator during the course of the clinical research. And the PA should be responsible in handling the product, investigational product, its usage and its storage. So the principal investigator may appoint a pharmacist under the PI supervision in order to all this process, but they have to maintain a proper IP records, innovation product records. So when I talk about innovation product records, it is related to the product delivery time, storage time, etc. Even date, delivery, batch number, serial number, expiry date, all the details related to IP has to be recorded properly. And storage, store all these products, especially when it's related to the biological product, they have to be stored properly as specified by the sponsor, and that should be in accordance with the regulatory requirements. So we have the PI make sure that they use the IP in accordance with the standard protocol as specified in the procedure. And again, most of the studies are done in a randomization protocol. So study design generally follow the randomization procedure, and the randomization code should not be broken if it is necessary, unless it is necessary. That should be in accordance with the protocol. So again, the documentation regarding the unblindingness, etc., has to be properly be noted if it is done, and it has to be notified to the sponsor and regulatory authorities. Okay, so these are the few basic additional commitments expected from the principal investigator when they are involved in the clinical research. So these are some of the guidelines which you take it from any funding agency protocol or requirements, guidelines. I have just taken it in a form and given to you. So before I go into the next topic, so this is the most important part I am trying to emphasize here, like how to become a principal investigator. So all of you are in a verge of entering into the research career, be it an informed student or a faculty who have just taken up academic career and you want to move on to the research career along with the academic career. The next few slides are very important, and if there are any question at this point, can I stop for a minute for interaction? If there are no questions or any interaction needed at this point, I may proceed further. So when I start looking into a topic like, for example, what is the basic requirement to become a PI? So all you have to, will be saying will be, so can I interact with at least one or two participants when I talk about our requirements? So what it comes to your mind? Any response from the participants? What is the basic requirement to become a PI? Principal investigator. So principal investigator is the one who formulate a project, get a fund, execute, and then um, make a product out of it or a publication out of it. So it is a responsibility of the conducting the research. So what should be the requirements to become a principal investigator? Any input from the participants in this point? I want some interaction in this line, otherwise it's going to be too monotony. So what do you expect the basic requirements from your point of view? So all of you are teachers or the M-Form students. So when you might have written some proposal in this line for funding already or planning to write a proposal. So what should be the basic requirement, which you think that it is very essential? No interactions? No interaction from the participants or no input from the participants? Are you all there? Am I audible? This is one problem we face whenever we make online interactive meetings. There we are not expecting any interaction. Am I audible? Any one of you, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, at least somebody is responding. Thank you. So when I talk about the requirements to become a principal investigator, I come across one interesting article. Apart from my own view, I have taken a liberty to take some of the steps we have to take to become a principal investigator from yeah. So I come across a very interesting article, and most of the concept discussed in this article is the the same points only. I have it in mind when I want to talk about the what should be the basic qualities the principal investigator has to develop, or the article says is 10 simple rules to become a principal investigator. It's a beautiful article published in class computational biology in 2020. Please, if you have time, read this article completely. So the most of the when I talk about a principal investigator in a Western country and in India, the scenario is a bit different. So when I talk about a principal investigator in a Western country like the US, the scenario is like after their postdoc, many rounds of postdoc, they want to have a academic career in a university as assistant professor, associate, etc. So what they have to have basic requirement to become assistant professor in Western university is they should have a project of their own. So for that, first they have to become a principal investigator, and they should have few projects in hand, and they have to look for the space and resources from the university to execute the project. So the first they have to become a principal investigator. Only then they will become a academic professors for teaching. But the scenario in India is entirely a reverse, like what we are. So we'll become a academic faculty first in a institution, university or institution. Then we do our teaching work, and when we have time, we are trying to do some research associated with based on the resources available in the institution. So it is entirely a reverse order. But whatever the order it could be, some rules has to be followed very effectively to become a principal investigator. So it was like a 10 commandment, we are familiar. So this is 10 simple rules to become a principal investigator, which I want to emphasize in the next few slides. Okay, the foremost important quality to become a principal investigator is to have, you should have a novel ideas. So unless we identify the problem and put a novel idea to solve the problem, it's very difficult to make a proposal. So the creativity is the central part by being a principal investigator. You have to see new things, new ideas, new connections, and you have to develop the proposal based on your new ideas to make it effective. So the foremost important quality the principal investigator should have is You should have a creativity. When I say creativity, it could be in arts and science and in engineering or any field, but you should have an idea to solve the particular novel idea to solve the particular problem. And as I keep saying, the ideas just cannot come by itself. So you have to make a preliminary research. You may do a preliminary literature survey, or you may do a preliminary research, then develop an idea. So allow time to develop these ideas into a proposal. So I think all will be having a lot of ideas, and I want to make sure that don't feel bad when you have some bad ideas. You always have bad ideas along with the good ideas. So we have to take up the ideas as shown in this picture. Which one is a bad one? Which one is a good one? So when you start developing idea through your creativity process, note it, jot down all your ideas, and then you can discuss with your seniors, mentors, peers, etc. which are the ideas are workable. When you see in many cases, most of the ideas may not work, or it may be a flop. There are some ideas may develop into a good ideas, and those are the ideas which you have to make it like a proposal. So the creativity process is very important in this entire process. So having a creative process is very important to become a principal investigator. So as I said already, once you have an idea, discuss the idea with others, which is very, very vital, because always we cannot say that my idea is the best. So unless we discuss the ideas with the peers and the superiors and the mentors, it may not be developed into a proposal. However, the timing of discussion is very critical. Most of the ideas are very fragile at an early stage. So when you start discussing on it, most of them ended up in the bin. When I say bin, it will flop out. But when you develop this idea into a next level, as with the supportive from your literature or from other evidence, then it may help. So the time of develop idea, discuss it with your peers and reviewers. So in this context only, I used to say having a regular journal club or a research club meetings, they are very, very essential to discuss your ideas. But most of us in the academic sector think that my idea is highly secretive. I won't discuss it with anybody. I'll have it myself. Then when you can't discuss your idea with others, how you are going to make sure that you are able to justify the funding agency based on your idea and the proposal. So you should always ready to discuss about your idea. When I say idea, it is a proposal to solve the particular problem. So this is a very important process. As I said, this creativity process is very for individuals. So you keep on think about the proposal at all times. For example, you can keep on think about the proposal when you are having a cup of tea with your friends, or when you are alone, or when you are even during the sleep, you can make a note of it, like how it can be executed as a next level project. So and once you have developed that as an idea, you put it out as a proposal. So this creativity process is a very important phase of the principal investigator. Unless we can able to think new ideas and put them in as a proposal, then it is not possible to become a principal investigator. So, and this process is entirely individual dependent. Each one have their own way of developing a idea into a proposal. But as I said, discussing an idea with the peer group, expert group, is before you put them as a proposal to the funding agency, is very essential process. The most important part of the principal investigator is you should have a very sound curriculum vitae. And when I say curriculum vitae, sound curriculum vitae, your publication plays a major role. When I say papers, it's nothing but a publications. So the second important rule is you should publish the paper. You should have a quality publication when you want to become a principal investigator. So nothing can speak regarding your expertise other than your publications. Okay. So ideally, if you have a first author papers and a corresponding author papers, it is very good. so that show the authority of your expertise in the particular field. So publications are very important to show your expertise in the scientific world and also for others to track your expertise. So that's the very importance of publication in a scientific society. And also for a funding agency, when you say I am good in it, the only way to prove your expertise is only through the publication. So are your patents. So make sure that you publish, and they say publish quality publication. So now we talk about indexed journal, impact factors, H index, I index, all the things are the evolution of the this process to show that you do the quality research. So it was like very important process when you start your research career. So you can ask me like, I'm just starting my research, how do I have a publication? So that is this is like chick came, whether the chick came first or a egg came first story. So you have to start your research. For example, when you are a MTech student or a PhD graduate. So make sure that all the research which you have done, even it is a minute part, convert that as a publication. Only these minimal publications only can speak for your expertise. Okay. So not only the first author papers, even a co-author papers are very important in this context. They demonstrate their ability to collaborate with others as a team. So this will play a major role when you are going for a large grant. I say about international grants or a multi-institutional grants when you are trying to apply for multi-institutional projects. Your co-authorship papers are very helpful. They show that you can work in a team with any expertise and then make a valuable output. So publication is the most important concept which you have to think about if you want to proceed in a research line. And I know that many of the research project, minute research project which we have done has gone to graveyard like this without getting published. So if you have any such research papers, please make sure that it is being published in a reasonable quality journals so that you enrich your biodata, and then that will be a major input for becoming a principal investigator. So it's time for us to gear up and then publish all our research which we have done so far, be it an MTech project, PhD project, some publication you might have done already. Some part of your research you might not have published. So hereafter, even if you plan a research at a undergraduate, postgraduate, or at a research level, make sure that it leads to publication. Unless you plan this from the start, it is very difficult to get a quality publication. Unless you get a quality publication, it's difficult for you to become a principal investigator. So publishing a papers is the most important contest to become a principal investigator. When you're ready to become a principal investigator, or when I say make a proposal and submit for funding, you should also know how to manage this process. For example, I already said the principal investigator is responsible for fundraising, fund managing, purchasing equipment, training the research scholars, publicizing the current research, planning for the future research. So these are all the part of the principal investigator. So you should know how do I going to manage all these things as a being a principal investigator. You should be aware, like you should ready to juggle. I literally say juggle because you have to handle multiple things simultaneously other than the teaching which you do regularly. So when you talk about rising or to become a principal investigator, you make sure that you are capable of handling all this process simultaneously. So the core element of the research is teaching, research, and administration. When I say teaching, teaching is invariably a part of principal investigator duty. So what I mean by teaching, so you may have your own research team. So you can recruit a MTech student or a PhD student who work in the project. First, you have to teach them the entire concept of your research. Then you make them do your research. You have to teach them how to do the research, and then you also have to administer all this process effectively. So all these things are the one which you are ready to take. This is what I said. It is a multidimensional work. It is not a simple teaching alone. You should know how to manage all the concepts related to the. This is where I said the first part of my lecture: commitments and responsibility of the principal investigator. You should ready to take up this commitment and responsibility effectively. Only then you can able to proceed further. So it is literally like handling too many things at the time. You should ready to take up that responsibility. That is the concept in juggling, always juggling, and develop your skills. The fourth rule which you have to follow to become a good principal investigator is you have to develop your skills as a leader of the group, because I said when I talk about principal investigator, he may develop a series of researchers like a research scholars or the technical staffs, etc. So the leader should be responsible to support the entire team. This is where the responsibility for the principal investigator in a Western country and our country differs. Basically, when I talk about your research team, irrespective of a Western country or our country, we should be able to support the sponsorship. For example, unless you have a good sponsorship in your project, it's difficult to recruit a quality research scholars. So, not only a funding, you have to also be responsible to develop the skills. The most important skill being learning to write well. So this is where your scientific communication lectures are very important here. So becoming a principal investigator, one of the basic quality you should have is you should know how to write a technical reports or good proposals. So writing grants and writing publication or manuscripts are very important quality for the principal investigator. You can develop this. If you read the article I have shown, so all these points I have taken up from the particular article. So if you read more elaborately, they have given a beautiful references on how to make a scientific writing effectively. So please go through the article. And this come only by practice and the feedback. Okay, I know how many times a manuscript bounce back from the editors or from the publishers before it get published. So you need to practice effectively, and you have to take all these constructive feedbacks only as a constructive manner. So all the reviewers comment or the editors comment, take them constructively and improve upon it, then submit it. Okay, learning how to work with other people is another important management experience you should have as a principal investigator, because as a principal investigator, you have to move with your superiors, your boss, and your peers, and your subordinates, and your research scholars. So you have to manage the entire team. So you should know how to work with people. So that is the most important quality of the principal investigator should have. When I say focus on the price, it is not the money or other material price I am talking about. It is like when you plan the proposal or a research, it looks very simple, like A becoming a B as shown in the top slide. The plan is very simple, seems to be very easy to achieve. For example, when I write a proposal, it looks very simple for me to execute the proposal. But when you start executing the proposal, it is like what you see in the bottom slide. It's lot of turmoils, lot of obstacles before A reaches the B. You can see that literally you have to struggle a lot, or plan and replan and modify your plan, etc., in order to reach the final B. So that is what I call it as focus on the price. So if you are focusing on the end, like I'm going to publish or I'm going to make a product, so that is the price which you are looking for, and you have to make a lot of commitment to cross all those deadliest barriers which you are going to encounter invariably. So the most important point I want to emphasize here is you have to evaluate the various attempts you are going to make to get a benefit per unit time invested. Time bound management is very important. So we cannot make lot of trials, We cannot make lot of errors before you reach the final goal. So we have to make a systematic plan to reach the final one, and when it is necessary, you have to keep changing the plan systematically, not as we wish. So we have to don't start any work unless you can see the root, especially like the end product outcome should be a publication, or a project outcome should be a publication or a product, or whatever that we made commitment to the funding authorities. So unless we can see the end route, end result, we cannot proceed further. So one of the major skill you should develop is to say no. So I know that many people say no all the time, but when I talk about say no when it is not going to work out. So I tried some 5 trials and it's not going to work out, then you should say no. So we should know when to say no if it is necessary. So that is the most important learning from the PA. As a PA, we have also learned many failures, and some failures we have to accept it. So we should say, yes, it didn't work out. You should have a courage to accept that some trials are not going to work out, didn't work out. So you should be honest in accepting some failures. Then the principle should be self-driven, but not self-centered. This is a very important concept. When I say self-driven, because you are going to be the driving force for the entire research team. So you have to be self-motivated even in the difficult times. But you should not be too self-centered. You always work with others. You have to work at the differences among others, and then you always have to bring your team along with you to the success front. So that is the most important role of the principal investigator. So there is a marginal difference between self-driven and a self-centered. So you always should be self-driven, but you should not be a self-centered person to becoming a principal principal investigator. Okay, that's what I say. Don't always say yes, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can always. And again, don't keep on saying yes to all the jobs which is given to you. So some jobs may not be giving you a very valuable output. So you evaluate your uh, scenario, then see whether you can execute the process, then you say yes. If not possible, you should ready to say no effectively. So don't be too modest in this contest. This is the first. In fact, each rules are very important, but this rule is very, very essential to becoming a principal investigator. Bounce back from failure. As I already said, no one can succeed all the time in all aspects. Especially the first time principal investigator know how many times he failed. So always you have to keep on trying. You have to bounce back from your failure, and you will fail on your path to become a PA initially, but you have to keep on trying to become a PA. Then even after becoming a PA, you will again fail in some aspect. As I said, some of the projects which we have taken, it didn't give a result as we expected, right? So the a PA who gets more than 20% of their grant funded is a superstar. So not everyone can be a superstar, right? So when we started applying for funding in before some 20 years before, if I apply 10 projects, I may get 4 or 5 projects successfully. That is the success rate of 30 or 40%. But here now with the more competition and more people are into the research, the success rate, the same is applicable for a publication also. The success rate is nowadays 5 to 10%. That is only 5% of the projects submitted to the funding agency get accepted for funding. So 95% are failures. That doesn't mean that they are not quality. They are not having a quality. They may not be suited for a particular scenario. So you got to improve upon it. Once you get a failure, improve upon it. That's what I call it as a reflective practice. So you reflect by taking up the comments, revise, recycle, resubmit. When I say revise, with the input from the funding agency or from the others, for example, editors, you have to revise, recycle, and resubmit. So this process is a very essential quality a principal investigator has to have. So if you just get dejected with the failures and if you're not proceeding further, then we cannot become a principal investigator. So learn to roll with the reviewer's punches. When I said about this, you always put yourself in a reviewer's shoe and then try to make a suitable modifications. So you yourself review your process or the publication or the material. Then see what are the flaws in that. As a reviewer, what are the flaws you can see in your own manuscript? Try to rectify that. So if you are applying for a funding agency, you put lot of question whether it will work. You always have to say if plan A is not working, you should know how to make a plan B. So you always have to understand the possibility of failure and try to rectify it. This is an important case. As shown here, everybody will bombard you with the questions when you go for making your proposal. Similarly, when you submit a manuscript, the reviewer will bombard you with n number of questions. Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you analyze this? How do you know this? How do you support this? So lot of bombardments you get everywhere, but we should know how to address them. We should not get dejected. So take a constructive criticism is a concept which I want to emphasize here if you want to become a good principal investigator, so that you give a value product or a value publication. So this is a very important quality or a requirement the PA should have. Okay, so bounce back from the failure, and this you can do it only when you depersonalize it. So when you get some bad comments regarding the proposal or regarding the manuscript, you always see that how to improve it. It's a constructive criticism only will help you to move further and move yourself and move your ideas further. So depersonalize the failures. Don't take it into your heart. I have done so much work and they have rejected it. My proposal is good, they are not funding it. So you always put yourself in a reviewer's shoe and then see how to improve upon it, how to make a improvised version of your proposal. Then go for the next submission. So this is applicable everywhere, and we have to, and this is applicable even in a normal phase of life, right? So not only a scientific, a research career, even a academic career, or even a day-to-day life, we always have to, we should be ready to take the failures and move forward. And the rule number 7 is develop your own brand. As researchers, we have two things to broadcast. When I say brand, it is not a brand of material we are talking, it's a brand of our research we are talking. So we have to broadcast our ideas and our expertise. Okay. So when I say brand, it includes the type of research you aspire to do and initial project you are trying to run, right? So if you say this group is making a quality publication in this field of research, it gets noticed by the others, and then they will try to collaborate with you regarding this, right? So when I say broadcast or develop your brand, your research team should be known for this expertise, right? So for example, when I talk about Dr. Ramanathan and this group of researchers, I know that they are good in drug designing and drug developing and drug testing. So you always know, whenever I am planning some research on this line, I talk to sir regarding this. Can we collaborate in this line? Similarly, some of the research we are doing will be developing a biotechnological based assay system, device development. Then if there is a need, we'll collaborate. So you have to broadcast your brand. You have to show that you are good in it. And this can be done only through the publications, right? So this brand could be known to everyone. So when I say, you will be at the forefront of people's thought when they are putting together grants, consortia and seminars, right? So that's what I said now. So when I make a multi-talented project needed, I am going to look for a PA with a different talent. Then you should, the investigator should remember you as the your group. This is a group best in it. So such a branding is the one I am talking about here. It is not a branding of the material. It is the branding of your research. Okay. And also you should not ignore your weakness. Your strength, your weakness, we should always remember. That's why I say, so we cannot accept all the time, can you do this, when somebody asks, yes, I can do it. So unless you are capable of doing this, don't accept it, right? So you should know your strength, you should know your weakness, and your strength should be broadcasted through your publication, and that will be done only through the connectivity. The next important process in branding your research is through connectivity. So connectivity will boost your branding, just like advertisement which you see for various material. In a research, your connectivity only can brand your research. And the rule 8, I can say each rule is more emphasized by itself. Believe in yourself. I said developing your brand is easier than done. Unless you believe in it and you do the quality research, you cannot brand your research group. Okay. So the most important problem we are generally facing is called imposter syndrome. I call it as imposter syndrome. The authors are also calling it as imposter syndrome, because that you always have a fear that your talents will be underestimated by your peers, superiors, and the boss. So you should have confidence on yourself in your research. So you don't allow your superiors. So this is what we call it as imposter syndrome resistant lab coat. What do you mean by lab coat? Lab coat is protecting you from the external damages and the mainly like anything damages your image. Similarly here, when I talk about imposter syndrome resistant coat, so you always try to project your good things and your brand effectively, and don't take negative comments so seriously. You have to take negative comments, but in a critical manner, but don't allow them to underestimate yourself, right? So this is a thing which I'm trying to. So always have a protective coat with multiple layers, so that you allow only positive things and you try to eliminate the negative things which are branded by the, which are being done by the others. Okay, so have faith in your talents, have faith in your research, and don't allow you to underestimated by anybody. Okay, and this you can do it only you can believe in yourself. Okay, that's what I said. Becoming a PI always is a very difficult task. You have to juggle a lot, work a lot, and make sure that your physical and mental health is more important, because you are a support for your entire team. What we have seen in some of the research team is like, because of the academic burnout, the entire the team leader could not do well, and the entire team will collapse. So don't allow this to happen. So be confident in yourself. Always rely on the others to some extent, and be confident on yourself. This is the most important point I want to emphasize here, especially when you work with a multi research team like IITs and IIC, because lot of competitions everywhere. Not only research sectors like a research institution, even an academic institution, within peers there are a lot of competitions. That we always try to overdo ourselves with others, and we want to show that we are best. And that's where I said you have to be considerative about your peers. You have to discuss with your peers. You always compliment your expertise with your peers, rather than being a competitor, right? So this part of the concept is very important if you want to sustain as a principal investigator, or if you want to start as a principal investigator. And rule number 9 is build a network of mutually supportive people. This is where I am talking in the previous slide also. No researcher can work independently. networking very center for the principal investigator. You can develop this networking by going into conference, consortia, workshops, etc. And I don't know how far it is possible for us to choose the right boss and environment to work in. But a right boss can make a very beautiful networking of research team or subordinates of research team who can be productive. Right. So always try to be cordial, or you try to develop a research network which is conducive to do the research, and then nurture your colleagues at every step of the way. So don't think of them as a competitor. Think of them as a complementer. They will always complement you. They will always coordinate with you in achieving your research goal. And be kind and supportive wherever it is necessary, whenever it is necessary, to your research team, your subordinates, and your peers. Okay. And be cordial with your boss and your superior. So these are the few things which we always try to do. Not only, it's not a quality of PI, it is a quality of any successful individuals, right? And the rule number 10. So you can get this is where I said, you can always get a support from everybody, boosting from everybody, your peers, your mentors, etc. So you can get a support at an experimental level, paper writing level, grant writing level. Only then you can become a independent PI. And being an independent PA, give us same supportive to your next group or your research scholars. So you always be supportive to others. These are some basic qualities a PA should have to become a PA and to become a super PA. The last rule number 10. I'm trying for 100 times. I'm not able to become a project on my own. So you should know when to quit. That's why I said there was always a fine line of defense, right? What I say just now in the rule number 6, I said you have to bounce back from the failure. In the rule number 10, I said you should know when to quit. So it is an extreme end where I kept on tried something and it didn't work out for me because of so many reasons. Then we should know we should quit. Right? This is not my cup of tea. So let me try something else. Not everyone could be a researcher. Some people are good in administration. Some people are very good in teaching. So you try a few times. Definitely each one should try the to get do the quality research and move further. But once you find out that this is not the path I am ready to choose, I can't bear up all these responsibilities at the same time along with my academic career, then you should know, you should say no to you, the research, right? This see sometimes it's mandatory for us to do something in a research sector, but we always should understand our capabilities and other things, and if we are not capable enough, then we should know this is not my cup of tea, I'm not going to do this. So that decision only you should make, and when you are trying to make the decision, don't rush in making the decision, because we always have to make a trial many times and then only we can conclude whether I am capable of doing the research or not. So these are 10 basic qualities or rules a researcher should have to become a to do a quality research and then become a principal investigator. Okay, so that's it. So these are the most important what I call it as requirements or an expertise needed to become a principal investigator, thereby leading a research team. Okay, so some of the priorities for a principal investigator, for example, when you are a new PA, when you start a research group in your lab, what are the responsibilities of the PA? You work at the bench and you have your own project. Only then you become a PA. When you will become a PA? Only when you have your own project. When you work under somebody's project, you are a research staff. But when you have your own project, then you are a PI. So most of the PI who started the research career, they should work at the bench. They cannot depend upon the research scholar, right? So you should know how to run the basics before you start training your recruiting the PhDs or postdocs or MTechs or BTechs for the work. First, you should know how to work at the bench, right? So you always have to lead from the front, then you should start publish independently. So this is a new PI's priorities, whereas mid-career PIs, like having a few projects in hand, how to proceed further, endeavor to continue at the bench because uh, you are at the age of around 30s and 40s till 45, 50s, you should know how to work at the bench, right? And at the same time, don't overpopulate the lab. When I say overpopulate, take few students who can do the quality work. The number is always immaterial than the quality. So quality of the research is more important. And you make sure that everyone has a project of their own, and then at the same time encourage independence and also a collaboration with others. So you always have to be a mediator in mediating the collaboration. Then late career PI, like the PA, like the maybe after having some 7 or 8 projects, ensure that your students and postdoc publish in a timely fashion. There should not be too much of gap in the publication of your research team. That shows that there is a lag in doing research. So a PA should regularly visit the lab. You cannot sit at your desk and then say, do your quality research to your PhD students. It is never going to work. So you have to be with the students when they start working, interact with them every day, find out what is the problem they are facing, help them to solve the problem. So be cordial and interactive to the student. Hold individual meeting on a regular basis, then the lab should be the number one priority. When you develop one lab or one research team, that is to be a priority for you to establish and maintain and successfully run the team. So this is one article. I mean, again, these are the few guidelines I taken from the PEPS journal 2021. So both these articles are very interesting articles. Please go through. A lot of such articles are available. And I stop at this point. And when I went across, there are online principal investigator training. I am not broadcasting this training process. No PA can be trained unless they have the research attitude. So this training is the, for example, a pharmacist becoming a principal investigator to run a clinical research. Then he can undergo this sort of training process and get a certificate and show that they can handle the clinical research effectively. So this is just an overnote. Don't bother about this. But I stop at this point because I spoke almost more than my time, I suppose. So at this point, I want to share a research experience of mine, how I started my academic career and how we established a reasonable quality research in our department. Okay. I'm not going to elaborate this, don't bother. These are some of the projects I have undertaken. So don't bother about the nature of the work and the funding. And when we started, so I joined in PhD Tech in 2001. The first 4 years are taken to establish the labs, establish the experiments towards the BTech courses we are running it. So most of the time went on and in establishing the laboratories, procuring the equipment and so on. As a part of senior faculty, we are our time is more focused towards establishing the department. But again, my basic. So when the organizer said about my biodata, I am worked on the protein engineering, protein, etc. But I started my career only with extension project of how biotechnology can be extended towards the rural population. Because when we start our research in the lab, there is no equipment or infrastructure to do research with the protein. So I have to divert my research interest to other fields. So in the meantime, we started working on mushroom cultivation with the various agriculture substrates. So whatever the bit of research I have done and published in that line, I have applied to a DBT to train a rural population for mushroom cultivation. And in this process, we have developed a machinery to utilize the banana banana stem as a substratum for mushroom cultivation. So this is where the technology intervention. It is not a classical extension project. It's a technology intervention. The committee is happy with the technology intervention we've made, and based on that, when we later applied with another research group, we can able to establish a rural women technology park, which is funded by the DST. So this sort of extension work is one part of our department, which goes on continuously with the base of research which we have developed. Okay, this is where I said connectivity, and this project helped me to be a reviewer of DBT in reviewing various extension related projects that gave us a lot of connectivity to the what you call it as a known scientist, which always help you to make a PI role a bit easier. Okay, so once we have started establishing the lab, I want to initiate my research in my own area. Like I worked on a protein, selenoprotein. So we started looking into your selenoproteins and various antioxidants in the Alzheimer's disease. In this point, I want to thank the two mentors which are motivated us for research. One is Dr. Ramamurthy, who also addressed you 2 days before regarding innovation in healthcare. He was our HOD, founder HOD of the department, who gave lot of motivation and guidance and support. When I say conducive environment and motivated boss, he is one such category. I appreciate him and I really thank him for giving our motivation and support for that time I was saying, now I am old. But he gave lot of support to us to do the quality research. Okay, and another mentor is I started working on selenoprotein in neurodegenerative disorders. In this context, Dr. Pranesh from Neurology Department of PSG IMSR is my mentor. He only motivated me to start my research in Alzheimer's disease, which goes on till today. So I remember him and thank him for this. So and in this context, I also want you to see the second project, like development of glycogen synthase inhibitor for neurodegenerative disorder. This part I am a co-PA with Dr. Ramanathan, so who also works in the field of neurodegeneration. So this sort of connectivity is the one which I am talking about to establish you as a researcher and a principal investigator. So based on the quality of publication we had a support from the extension of the project is gone to DBT, and that has gone into a WS, Women Scientist Team. One of the students developed my idea as a project and she got it funded. So why I'm talking about this, you have to be consistent when you start something, proceed in that line to show that you can do your quality research in that field. That's where I call it as expertise. Develop your expertise in a particular field and broadcast it through your publication and product development. So the next area which we have simultaneously developed is device development. So a lot of being in a technology institution, we are involved in developing a device by interdisciplinary collaboration with engineering department. So the first project is from DRDO. They came to our department in 2005 and they say we need some product like this. So I did a flow through automatic flow through capillary ELISA, which is established in DRDO now. And then that project has given me an option to work on developing the various immuno-based diagnostic device, which we are doing it. Right. So these are some of the device-based development projects which goes on in the department, where we can able to generate funds from almost all the funding agencies so far, like UGC, ICMR, DST. And this DST DBT projects under the scheme of DST seed and device development project, only if you can show the product, you can say that you are successful. So we can give a prototype of the product which is under consideration for commercialization. So this is a device development sector of the project which I have initiated. Then these are industry collaborator projects which we have done with a startup Biosearch solution, wherein we are trying to develop a novel ELISA-based diagnostic marker for cardiovascular disease diagnosis, and we have applied a funding to grant. We have tried 3 times. All the 3 times we went up to some of the failures. I said this is one such failure. We went up to the 3rd level screening. When we started working on the proof of concept, whatever we have conceptualized didn't materialize. We cannot able to give a proof of concept. Our idea is good, but one of the marker like ENAS, its stability in the blood is not very less. It's very less and not what we expected. So we are not able to develop that as a biomarker. So why I'm talking about is we tried 3 times putting that as a proposal to the for funding to big. All the 3 times it went up to the final level, but we are not able to show it as a productive one. So the company has lost interest. So this is where said you should know when to quit. So this project is almost stopped. Whereas we can able to develop a product in other industry like T-stain, where we developed a cell-based screening system for lipid lowering phytoformulations, and ITC Life Science, some reductase inhibitor. All these are biotechnology based assay protocol we are developing as a part of collaborative project. And Institute of Microelectronics Singapore, we are collaborating in developing a electrochemical based biosensor. So these are some of the, don't bother about the topics, it's not going to matter to you. All I want to show is be consistent, be make your connectivity, publish a quality research, then become a PI, and then succeed as a good PI. That's it. Thank you very much. I know that I have over taken my time, and thanks for listening. And now I think I'll stop down or close down my chat. So if there are any questions, I'm ready to answer now. So let me see others. So I know that the take-home message from my talk is like mainly you have a consistency in your trial. I mean, in your effort to become a good researcher. Do quality research, publish, automatically rewards will come to you. Right? For this, you should have a environment. You should develop environment of research networking, and then go to a lot of conference, publish your research, interact with others, be a part of research team in many groups. Then automatically you will be known in a scientific community. Thank you very much. I hope I made justice to my presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We learn a lot, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Any interaction? See, I want at least few interaction from the young ones. So I have done this. Why? So as I said, this is not the path which is well defined. So this path has to be explored individually in their own way, right? So this is our path, we have taken it. So you can have your own path in exploring the branches and then bifurcations to make it to the better one. So feel free to ask something. If I can share some of my experience, then it's good. Otherwise, at least be motivated for research. That is the only logo I want to say. And that is the only thing will inspire you. When your project goes and publish, and you really will have that satisfaction. And that is the reward I am talking about, not any other reward. And when your team is doing well, when some of your research scholars are doing well, for example, many of, I mean, few research scholars and MTechs we have trained, they are doing good in some of the companies. Then that is a success we are talking about.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for such a valuable session. It was very informative as well as a motivating session for the upcoming researchers. Now the session has been open for the queries. Delegates, if you have any queries, please share in the chat box.
Expert in the field of research. Sir, is it a query?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. On the time you have some discussion, no, that's where he
Okay.
posted that one.
Expert in the field of research.
Yeah, he posted a long back, ma'am.
Okay, right, fine. So, as I said, it is no like a technical session where you have questions, but rather than a question, I say it is interactions, right?
Yes, ma'am, exactly. If anybody's want to interact with them, you can unmute yourself and talk to the beloved speaker. I think we are all very young, ma'am, to ask some questions. So that
that's where I said only young ones will have a lot of questions. That's what I have seen. So when we address our students, we do have an innovation lab as a part of our curriculum. They came up with so much of ideas, right? We
Yes,
are trying to prune them, that is different, but they are bursting with ideas and lot of their enthusiasm is really very good. So that's where I'm always like to talk to young ones. Being a old, maybe I'm more interested to talk with young ones because that will motivate us further, right? So
yes, thank you,
I'm expecting one or two interactions at least from the young ones.
Yes.
As I said, there is no fixed guidelines for this becoming a principal investigator, but some of the concepts which you have to try it out is the one I have pointed out. That's it. Thank you. So
Okay,
if there are no questions, if you can interact with me at any time through the email.
Yes, ma'am. We have noted your email, ma'am.
Right. Thank you.
If any question is not there, over to MC, you can wind up the session.
Okay, thank you once again. Thank you so much, Rani ma'am, for such a valuable session. It was informative as well as motivating session, and especially the PI requirements and expertise is one of the most important part of the research work. And the information you had provided will be very much helpful for the upcoming researchers. Once again, thank you, Dr. Rani ma'am, for your valuable time and the session. I also thank all the delegates for your cooperation. With that, we shall end the session now, and we shall rejoin in for the afternoon session at correct 1:50 p.m. Thank you all delegates, and once again, thank you, Rani ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. So you have given me the certificate.
Yes, ma'am. I will send you through the post, ma'am. I will come and give you, ma'am. The hard copy will be given to you, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. We are regularly interacting, so that is not the problem. Right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
For all your patient listening, and all the best for the young researchers. I used to come to your department for reviewing few of the proposals and posters.
Yes, ma'am. You have been reviewed my project itself, ma'am, in IRRC.
I hope, see, all those comments I said, that's what I said, take the comments in a positive sense, right? So always take the criticism as negative, not as negative, only as positive, right? Thank you. All the best to all of you for your research career or whatever the career you're planning to choose. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.